Oh yeah, I'm burning it up. DPGC, you should be turning it up. CBT,
So today we're discussing the national budget 2016-2017. My response on the national budget really is going to be short because the overall budget was really a good budget. When you looked at the different sectors being affected by the budget, you would realize that this budget was really meant to share the burden across the board in every single sector. And therefore, my overall view of the budget by the Minister of Finance was that the budget was a good budget. The areas where I have some concern would be HDC, online tax, and agriculture. All right, for now, those are the main areas that I have concerns with. Let's start with online tax. Online tax is now 7%, and this is for every item you buy that comes in via air freight, not sea, just air freight. And my concern with this is that citizens already pay customs and duty taxes for items that come into the country. Now they'll be asked to pay a 7% tax for those items that come, which were bought online. And the issue really arises whereas for one item, you are now paying two different types of taxes. And that makes absolutely no sense. Why would I want to have one item taxed twice in the same country by the same government? That just does not make sense. When the minister spoke earlier on, either this year or late last year, about setting a threshold for online taxes, I was under the impression that what the minister was saying is that they would look at a particular value, and based on a value, the tax would apply or not apply. So in other words, let's say you spend 10,000 US and up, then yes, a tax would apply, in this case a 7% tax. But for an item that costs $100 US, $50 US, $5 US, I see no need to apply a 7% tax to that item when you're already going to charge customs and duty taxes. So therefore, it makes, again, no reasonable sense that you are being taxed twice on items that you purchase online. And this measure, as I've indicated before, this measure is not a measure that is aimed at helping the middle or lower class, those who are vulnerable in society and so on, to purchase items. This measure is really a measure to force people. It is a measure, and I repeat again, to force people to buy local. And I think the minister needs to understand the issue is not buying local. I remember when this first online tax thing came up and the UNC government was in power, and Vasant Bharat was the minister, he was the Minister of Trade and Investment then. And when the issue was posed to him in a question and answer session, what he said is that the government at that time was not looking at any online taxes. What should happen is that companies need to step up their game to be able to compete within the local market as well as the international market. And I agreed with that position because citizens should have the right to choose where they want to shop and not be forced down a particular road. However, we are now faced with online tax with this PNM administration. Now, I would like to offer some suggestions to the Minister of Finance. One, first of all, since you don't have my support for online tax, just take it off. All right, the Minister of Finance does not have my support for this particular measure. So I want to suggest this. Remove online tax. So there are two options I want to give you. One, remove the online tax and increase customs and duty by a certain amount, if that is the case. All right, so that way citizens will not have to pay two taxes, just one, and it just may cost a little more, and that would be okay. It is much better than paying two different types of taxes. The other suggestion is, if you want to leave the online tax and still have the customs and duty tax, why not set a threshold for a value figure for items? That way, as I indicated earlier on, if an item, you could set a threshold of 10,000. So anybody spending 10,000 and over, what we could do is deploy that 7% tax. All right, you could decide the figure, whether it be 10,000, 15,000, 8,000 US and up, so that the online tax would apply. But to charge somebody who's buying something for $20 US, $30 US, $100 US, to have them pay double taxes does not make sense. So have this threshold set for a certain value, so you will catch those who who meet the value going up, and those who are purchasing items online that are below the value, that is really reasonable. I think that they should be allowed to pay their customs and duty tax and be exempted or excluded from the online tax. As it relates to agriculture, I noticed that agriculture and housing got the lowest within the budget, and of course somebody must be at the bottom. But I was concerned about housing and agriculture because with respect to housing, this government had indicated that they wanted to do public-private partnerships to go on a housing boom. And I mean, the boom means, well, in my understanding, you're going to fast track and you're going to get things on the go and things are going to start to move. But I'm concerned that the budgetary allocation for housing may not provide for a housing boom between 2016 and 2017. I'm not sure. I don't have enough information on that as yet, but I would hope that the Minister of Finance would clear this up, because he gave overall figures, but there was really little detail as to how this housing boom is supposed to take off with the current allocation for housing. With respect to agriculture, the food and import bill, I know we've been talking about decreasing and so on. But I noticed that agriculture, while I heard that there were some things exempted, like machinery and so on, this is nothing new though. This has always been a practice from since the last administration. So I need to get more information as to how are we going to lower the food and import bill if it is that we are decreasing the allocation for agriculture to help our local farmers really produce enough to feed the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. On a side note from the budget, I want to say that the Route 2 Maxi Taxi Drivers Association, I saw that they wanted to have a meeting. I'm not sure if the meeting happened, but there was some meeting that was supposed to happen to discuss the increase, and they were considering raising fares. They have not made any statement on it, but I just want to say in the offset that nobody across the board should be raising fares. All right, not because diesel went up by 15%, which is really 30 cents. I cannot see how we could be thinking about raising fares for 30 cents. And if that is the case, and we really want to raise the fare for 30 cents, then the raise should be equivalent to what the fare increase is, to what the budgetary increase was. So if it is that these people are really considering a raise, which is ridiculous, then that increase should be by 30%, right? And that is my view, because they make $7 from Port of Spain to Arima, and as for one person, you have maxis that hold 22 people and so on. You multiply that, all right, by 15 trips. Right? In one day, just 15 trips, they make roughly about 2,000 something. Give them 5 days, they make an average of 11,000 something. And then from there, if you look at the amount of weeks within the month, they make over $38,000 a month. 30,000. And I wonder how much money do they spend in diesel, which is, by the way, the cheapest form of fuel in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm excluding CNG from the list. I'm just looking at super, premium, and diesel. So they have the cheapest form of fuel. It's like they sit down for the budget and they wait just to hear transportation. They ignore everything else. But they sit and they wait for transportation just to say we raising fares. So I do not see the need for anybody, Route 2 Maxi Taxi Association, any other transport service, whether it be for foods, goods, and services. I don't see people raising the need for people to raise their fares. Trinidad and Tobago citizens as well as companies need to be patriotic in these times and try to absorb a little bit. 30 cents ain't go kill nobody. Even if you multiply it a couple times, it will not kill the business. So I think that in this time, 2016 to 17, companies as well as citizens should shoulder the burden where it is reasonably necessary. So overall, the budget was a good budget. I saw nothing wrong with it. It affected all sectors of the economy. I am just not in support at all of online taxes, and of course the suggestions could be raised, but no online tax. I'm not in support of that whatsoever. And well, yeah, that's just generally about it. So I trust that the review was very short, all right, and it really oh right, there's a petition. I forgot. There is a petition to sign, and I have signed the petition about the online tax, requesting the Minister of Finance repeal such such a policy of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. Look out for more video blogs. I'll try to keep it updated as much as possible. I just don't make videos for every little issue. Sometimes I just post a status, but the budget is one that requires a video response. So I thank you. God bless you, and God bless the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Top dog, bite 'em all, yeah, I'm burning it up. DPGC, you should be turning it up. CBTLB.